Well, it's time to talk about operating systems. There are a few things in here I like to tweak. And these are things that aren't necessarily virtual machine specific, but I've put this list together based on a lot of experience of my own and consulting with other software experts. And so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about this list here and why I think we want to update these settings, and then I'm going to walk you through the actual process both in Windows XP and in Windows 7. So, Firewall. This probably isn't a big surprise, and I think most people have heard about this at this point. Firewalls are pieces of hardware or software that block certain communications that would go through a network. And in a virtual machine, especially when we're trying to connect to automation equipment and do programming tasks, we'd rather just have those pipelines very open and save the security measures for the host and for bigger corporate networks or the internet rather than just communicating directly with a machine. Windows updates, if you remember my story about how things just broke one day and nobody knew why, I still point the finger at Windows updates. This is something that we can't control, and it may or may not have an effect on our automation programming software. And so it's really, in my opinion, it's just best to turn that off, get it out of the way. AutoSleep can sometimes be an issue and sometimes not, but really there's no point in having a virtual machine sleep itself, because if the host is not going to sleep, it doesn't really make any difference for power savings or anything. So I would rather keep the virtual machine screen on, no AutoSleep, no screensaver, no anything like that, because when it goes through that process of going to sleep, there are other processes that go along with sleeping in the background, and sometimes they can just trip up what you're trying to do and make it take a little bit longer to get back to where you were. Next thing I want to talk about is user account control. Sometimes I'll just call this UAC. And this is something that was introduced, I believe, in Vista, maybe in Windows 7. I know it was not in Windows XP. But if you ever install something on your computer and it pops up this window and the whole screen goes dark and it says, hey, are you sure you want to let this program make changes to your computer? That's user account control. And this is another security feature that's built into Windows with the intent that a malicious software package couldn't take over your computer without you clicking yes on that pop-up window. This can be a little weird when it comes to installing things, and I've had some trouble with it before. I've tried to install something and it said it installed okay, but it didn't work. And I couldn't figure out why. I called tech support. Oh, try user account control. It's like, well, it says it installed. Well, no, you better try it anyway. So I turned off user account control and I installed it again. The install looked the same, and all of a sudden the tool worked. So take it from me, it's better for this to just not be on your programming machine. Network priority. Windows will actually handle multiple networks. Say you have Wi-Fi and a wired connection and who knows what other kinds of network connections. It handles these pretty well, but the way it does that is it knows which network to search on first based on subnet, mask, and other things. When you try to communicate with the outside world, it's going to try on one network, and then it's going to try on another network and another network until it's exhausted its list. And so we can tell it which ones we care about the most, and that'll speed up our connections to the outside world since we're controlling the network very tightly, especially when we're trying to communicate with something. IPv6, maybe some of you have heard about this before. Most of the IP addresses that we work with are v4. 192.168.1. Whatever, that's IPv4. And the argument was, hey, we can only have so many numbers on this, and we're going to have a whole bunch of computers on the internet soon. We have to expand this so that we can have more computers on the internet, more unique addresses. Long story short, it hasn't really been an issue at this point, even though it was projected to be an issue 20 years ago. But all new operating systems after some point, I don't know, I know Windows 7 does support IPv6, Windows XP does not. All newer operating systems support IPv6. And I've been advised to turn this off on network adapters, but I've never actually had an issue with it. So I do turn it off anyway. It's not hard. I'll show you how. But know that I don't have any reason for my own experience. This is based on a software expert's recommendation that I trust his opinion. So with that out of the way, why don't we go check out an actual operating system?